that climb up Longs was that I participated with you.
Oh, the wind.
The wind. There was a storm coming in, and the ranger had told us, if you want to summit, you better come now, earlier than we intended. Okay. And but the storm was coming in, and you have to start the climb up Longs at about 2 a.m. And so I was going to go there at the trailhead and camp, sleep, till 2 o'clock, and then we'd go. Nate thought it was insane to go to bed before 2 a.m., so he was just going to pull an all-nighter.
Well, you were going to bed at what time?
I don't know, 5
or
something like that. It didn't work because the wind was fierce.
I was going to do this next.
Oh, well, go ahead.
So you want me to just read?
I knew you were, so I just wanted to give you a lead in.
Thank you. I appreciate that. The moon was well on its way to the crest of the sky by the time I arrived at Site 17 at the Longs Peak Campground in Rocky Mountain National Park. With the aid of a flashlight, I tried with great effort to pitch my tent. Strong gust of wind kept ripping it out of my hands. Setting up a tent in strong wind by yourself is impossible. This was either going to be an incredibly frustrating or a moment of great hilarity. We have those choices in life. This time, I did what my dad would have done and probably did do the previous hours. I jumped on my flopping tent, wrestled it to the ground, and burst into laughter. Now, I had something to go with that, but
okay. Go ahead. I don't remember. You go ahead.
All right, I'll run with that. I mean, the book is funny. I will still laugh out loud when I read it, which is fun. One of the things about that you can't talk about our time together without talking about the humor, because it was funny, and we had some really good times in there. And one of the things that Brian's got a really good program, the Master of Spiritual Formation.
Yeah.
I mean, people coming through that, we have some here. But
what's the name of the program?
It's the Masters of Spiritual Formation at Spring Arbor University.
The Masters. Brian asked me to do that.
Did he ask you to plug it on? Hey, they put this on. I'm grateful. Good people coming through that, substantive people, and I think they're, growing in incredible ways, and I mean, richness, but they're really serious. I mean, they're really, I can't handle it. I mean, I'm not. I wish I could be that serious. Here's the thing that I learned about God from humor. That humor, and I wish I'd highlighted this more in the book, but it's in the backstory when you read the book. Your humor and your lightness teaches me about the character, the nature of God, and the way in which I should live my life. Can you talk about holiness and humor? Humor is spiritual?
Can I tell you a picture that I'm still looking for? Just imagine. Jesus and the disciples, they're on a hill. And Jesus has just told the best joke. And Peter is rolling down the hill in just gales of laughter. And, these disciples are just having the grandest time. Because, see, one of the occupational hazards of religious folk is to be stuffy bores. And we just have to knock that in the head. And humor is one of the best ways to do that. I have a friend, you've met him, Bill Vosweek.
Bill.
Who does that.
Some people here have met.
Oh yeah, who does that for me all of the time. Anytime I begin to get a little too serious. We were at one time at a Franciscan retreat center, so okay, very solemn and all of that. And I had brought, it would be in your context like a bishop, to that conference, invited him to come. And Bill had said, let's pray for each other while we're here. I said, sure. So we go back to our room, and then I invite this guy, Norval, to join us. And so then Bill prays for me, and Norval prays for me. It's my turn. And I'm praying for Norval. He's stood there. I come behind him, put my hands, and, this is the bishop. So I've got to really do a great prayer. So I'm really, working on this. And Bill is kneeling down with his hands on Norval's knees. And Norval had some physical situation that University of Oregon Medical Center been trying to. It had something to do with allergies, but he would swell in different parts of the body. They couldn't figure it out. So when I came around to that matter, and I'm going, Lord, nobody seems to know what's going on, and would you please just, clean out his whole body system? And Bill just starts to laugh. And he says, if the Lord does that, he'll have the runs all night long. And I'm trying to maintain my composure. I don't dare open my eyes. And I just, if the Lord wants to do that, that's okay. And Bill says, whatever you say. Well, by that time, we're just rolling on the floor. And then later that week, we were just having a great time. Now, Bill had just gotten over a very serious operation, open heart surgery. This is way back in the 70s, so you understand. Difficult. And so we were just having a wonderful week, a lot of fun, a lot of laughter, and so forth. Well, the last night before the consecration service, the next day, we go to our room. We were rooming together. Remember, this is a Franciscan retreat center. The monks go around, wake us up with their...
Serious?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. All that stuff. There's a note. You two guys have been cutting up and carrying on, and we're trying to learn about prayer, and we're being serious, and you two, it's just ruining the whole retreat. And would you please stop it? Tomorrow is the consecration service, and would you stop all this, humor? And I'm mad. Oh, it was signed, a concerned friend.
Was it Bill?
I said, if they just would tell us who we could go and talk things. And Bill, he's sitting there and, they just have a bad spirit. We need to pray for them. And I'm pacing back and forth, and no, we need to pray. He's trying to get me on my knees to pray, and he wrote the note.
That's good. That's good.
It was good. He was really good. So I don't remember what your question was, but that's...
That's all right. It's fine. Humor as a spiritual discipline. Mm-hmm. Can you play with that?
Uh-huh.
I mean, can I
play with that? It's very clever.
I see Pat Bailey there with the department chair. She's right. Can you wave, Pat? That's Pat.
Hi, Pat. We tried to see you this afternoon.
I saw your note.
Sure. Oh,
how
here's
nice.
what
You told me not to quit laughing and being
the thing Pat is, let's say about Pat.
Be careful.
I'll be
Yeah, she's your department chair.
Well, she's retiring, so. I have so much fun with Pat, and to me, Pat is a saint. And part of it, she doesn't take herself very seriously. And there's
saint.
You guys know Pat in this way, don't you? I mean, there's something just spiritually rich about the lightness that she brings. Yeah. So humor is a spiritual discipline.
It is. I mean, it's just to learn to let go, not to be so serious. I remember one time when I was on the Oregon coast, and I had this unusual experience of the presence of God. I mean, I wasn't looking for it, but it came. And And it lasted, I don't know, maybe an hour. And during that, I thought, oh, God's here. I can ask, some questions about, So I asked this question. I don't want to even tell you what the question was, but
tell us.
I had, no, there's some things you don't talk about. Okay. And
I wouldn't know.
And I asked,
I had it all out there.
I had this distinct feeling or sense of God laughing, and just sort of saying, Richard, just
Because your question?
because of the seriousness and I'm so worried about this or that, this thing. How I should dress. It had to do with how I didn't have to do that. And God just, it was that. Do I wear it? Was that
I'm going to start wearing a tie.
And, I bet you are. This
President asked me to wear a
guy,
tie.
I had to teach him how to wear a tie when he was 30.
It took all afternoon. I'm not kidding.
First time he ever. Okay,
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
So,
You asked God how to
what was
dress.
I talking about? Just this feeling that God laughing and saying, don't take yourself so seriously, let go a little bit. And that was a real release, that I don't have to be CEO of the universe. And I don't have to answer every problem or solve every issue or make everything come out right. And I can just learn to be with people. And humor is one of the wonderful ways just to help us to let loose a little in all of this. And this school, for example, holiness people especially need this. That have a theology of holiness. You really need to give a good dose of humor in it all. Because it really is funny sometimes.
That's good. Huh? Thank you. Yeah. Okay, in the...
Hey, I got to ask something.
all right, you go ahead.
Loveland.
Yeah.
Skiing.
Right.
In Colorado, about all of the big name ski resorts, Aspen and
Vail,
Breckenridge, so on. But there's one called Loveland, which is for locals, not tourists. And so we would
Because it's not as nice.
No, yeah,
It's cheap.
It's cheap and it's crummy, but it's great. And it's at close distance. And the lifts take you right to the very top of the Continental Divide, which is really wonderful, but also windy, terribly windy, almost always on top of Continental Divide in the winter. And that was the time when you begin to ask questions.
Yes.
Yeah, and you talked some about the freedom to ask questions. Sort of unpack that a little for us.
I think we have a lot of commonalities as humans, and that we probably have more of the same questions than we are willing to admit or know. And I think it's really easy. It's probably culturally we get the idea that I've got to kind of stay within the bounds of what's socially, appropriate or whatnot. And if I ask a question that's maybe outside of that, then there'll be repercussions or it's embarrassing or whatnot. And that culturally, I think, fits into our church life and our Christian communities. And so what I think for me growing up and seeing things that bothered me about religious life, that was just me, dissing God or me backsliding. I can't, I need to just ignore that. And I get to write about it. So you gave me the freedom to ask questions that may be seen as critical.
Yeah.
You know, and that there's
Now remember,
freedom
we're
in
going
that.
up this rickety ski lift, and it would stop every now and then because of some
Well, it was
problem.
Loveland,
Yeah, yeah. So
Turn the
we're
batteries back on.
swinging in the wind, yeah. Got to get the electricity back on. And he starts asking questions. We did that all winter, didn't we? Yeah. That particular year.
And it was great because I think that's another thing. I mean, relationally, they say that cars are the time when spouses have good conversations because they don't have to look at each other. And I think the ski lift worked the same way. And then also the great thing about ski lift is you talk and then you get to go run down, you know.
Yeah.
And so there's something kind of good about that.
Yeah. And then he'd have to wait for me at the bottom
I would.
because I'm slow skier.
It's okay.
Yeah. It was fun.
Slow. It's the new fast.
Yeah. That's right.
All right.
60's the new 40.
Here's a story. Oh, you want to? This is
Okay.
Black Canyon.
Oh, let me give the background of this. We have a week. Now that didn't happen a lot.
No.
Where we have a whole week. And we're going to go up to an area called the Collegiate Peaks region and set up a base camp about 11,000 or so, 11,500. And then there were 3 14ers that we were planning to climb in, you know, the course of that week. So we get up there and set up the base camp. And but Nathan, you go to bed early. And the next morning, I wake up. Now, Nate, you know, I'm a sort of the early bird gets the worm.
Hey. Hold on.
Oh, he's got.
I got something for you. Say it again.
I'm the early bird that catches the worm.
And the worm that sleeps in doesn't get caught.
Right.
Okay. Go
So
ahead.
that's Nate. Okay, so far.
That's good. Isn't that good?
That's good. That's good. You're very clever.
Worm sleeping in.
Yeah, you're very clever. So I get up, you know, 5 o'clock or so, and Nathan's up. Now, something's wrong if that's the case. And he was in real trouble. I mean, I could tell something's wrong. He hadn't slept all night. His heart was beating real fast. And so I'm trying to figure out what's going wrong. And this is, I had this on with the pack. And I whip this out, get to my first aid thing, and I'm trying to figure out what it is. And because the symptoms were different, disorientation, he couldn't speak very well. Well, it was a double deal. It was high altitude pulmonary edema and also high altitude cerebral edema, altitude sickness. And that can come on anybody at any time. Doesn't matter how well conditioned you are and so on. Well, there's only one cure for that. You got to get down the mountain. And so I say, Nate, you got to start going down the mountain. And that was one of the times we had one, I don't know how many times we had a trail angel, somebody who comes along. He was the only person we saw on that trip, I think.
Yeah. We were up there. Didn't see any
Trail
others.
angel comes by, a guy who'd been down in Peru for a couple of weeks. He was a, what do you
He's
call
an
it?
EMT.
EMT. And he takes 2 minutes looking at Nate and confirms it. He's got high altitude.
Carries me down.
Yeah, and so this guy essentially stays with Nate, carries him down. I have to, of course, lug all the packs and all this stuff down. By the time we got down to whatever it was, 6,000 or 7,000 feet.
And I was sick. I mean, I was delirious. I mean, I couldn't form I was like I was 5 in my mental capacity.
People die of this stuff. And we knew, I mean, when he's starting to slur his words and just not oriented.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
So, and this guy gets Nate down all the way. Okay, we're down. And by the time you get down to that level, then he's starting to feel good. Well, so then he's revved up to, you know, go again. I'm going, you are absolutely out of your mind. And there is no way. You almost died there. I'm not taking you up. But I will take you down. And so there was a canyon. It's called the Black Canyon of the Gunnison. It's a wonderful, wonderful canyon. I mean, very steep, very sheer. Some places only like, what, a half a mile across or so. And just a magnificent, maybe a mile down. But I said, so I will take you down. So we go to Black Canyon of the Gunnison, and what, we got there probably about 4.
Well, here it is.
Oh,
That's my
okay.
cue. Okay. Early that evening, we rolled into Black Canyon of the Gunnison National Park, set up camp, and watched a short video at the visitor center. As a child, I wanted to be a park ranger, so whenever I see one, I find a reason to talk to him or her. You do that too. They're usually eager to help, and I relish the chance to get a close view of their cool outfits. Can you hike into the canyon from here? I asked the current ranger, studying the symbols on her hat. Not now, she said. It's very technical. We have a number of overlooks and nice day hikes on the rim. She was an uptight ranger. How technical? It's getting dark and a rainstorm is on the way. She was clearly annoyed with me. This made me want to talk to her even more. Sure, but how technical are we talking? Trying to look busy, she reluctantly responded. There's an old rusty chain you use to climb down the rocky cliffs. It involves a series of dangerous handed footholds. The trail really should be closed. We don't advertise its existence. We would prefer not to rescue you on the side of a cliff. You must sign a waiver before you're allowed to access the trail. She had no idea how appealing she just made this.
I know that. You did.
Can we go tonight? No. It would be dark before you reach the bottom. Sure he can, barked an old ranger coming out of his office. Bill, they can't climb up the chain in the dark. Besides, it's going to storm any minute, pleaded the uptight ranger. Bill looked us up and down. We were dirty and eager. Got headlamps? Yes, sir. Waterproof pants, jacket, and boots as well. Ah, they'll be fine. Just sign this. He opened an old file cabinet and pulled out a waiver. My uptight friend wasn't done yet. In my professional opinion, I would in no way recommend you taking this trail, especially in the dark during a thunderstorm. The older ranger had set the bar. He believed in us. In the morning, I was dying. By afternoon, we were going home. And tonight, we are embarking on a great adventure. Funny what happens when you accept life on life's terms. Quickly, Dad and I dressed in rain attire, packed hats, gloves, water and food, headlamp intact. We walked across the mesa toward the canyon and the chain. There was a spring in our steps. We were like little boys exploring an old fort in the woods. Near the edge, we encountered a group of people peering into the canyon. One man asked, "You're not going to go down the canyon, are you?" Like a southern cop from an old TV show, I confidently responded, "Yes, sir, we are. Bill thinks we can." "What?" he replied. I smiled and continued. Dad shrugged his shoulders and whispered, "Who's Bill?"
That was great. And so we did go down. And we came back up in the middle of the night. Are you going to read something from that?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Came back up. And by that time, the rain was pretty well gone. And the stars.
Oh, it's beautiful.
And we, a couple of times, didn't we, turn off our headlamps? I mean, you just don't know black until you're in a canyon like that. And the night sky was stunning.
Yeah, and the river was really loud, I remember, down at the bottom.
Yeah.
And the dark and the river and the sun.
And the next day, we climbed along the river and crossed it. And that was...
frightening.
Yeah. Yeah, your poles, trekking poles, are just shaking. You had some rope.
Yeah, we roped ourselves together and
Yeah.
walked through.
And that was, in case I go, I'm taking him with me.
Hey, the question I have on that, I mean, as I wrote the book, and see, I was young now, I was in my 20s, and I didn't really think about what we were doing, and I didn't really think about what you were doing, so you did some really stupid stuff with me. What was going on in your head, and why did you do this? Did you think about not telling me no? Because I wouldn't do some of it now. I mean, to be honest, especially that river thing, that was dumb.
That was. But it was great fun.
Oh,
wasn't
it was. Yeah, it was.
just a nice way to improve your prayer life, I guess.
Oh, that's good. Humor.
Hey, I got a question for you.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Because I don't know that I can answer that one. Now, this is a test question.
Okay.
Okay, to see if you remember
I did 65 rewrites. I got the whole thing.
what you got. And Nate's mother is here, and she might want to cover her ears because.
No, my daughter's here too. And my
Well,
son.
she could hardly believe that you would speak like this, no less write it. But I'm going to read you a phrase, and you have to tell me the context of the phrase. Okay? Here it
Look
is.
at my wife. She's scared. I'm scared.
I laughed so hard I nearly peed. See, she thought it was funny.
Was it I laughed or you laughed? I laughed?
No, you. I laughed so hard I nearly peed.
No,
You need a hint?
Sure.
It has something to do with my Michael Jordan impression.
Oh, your basketballs. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were kids.
And you remember what I would say?
I do. Let me read. What page was that? Because that's good. It sounds good.
Page 92.
Every now and then you write something and you go, ooh, I like that. Okay, ready? How we doing?
Oh, we got half an hour.
Okay. Oh, I got it.
Well, we've got 3 hours. They're eager. They'll stay with us.
After the summer sun had set, the moon illuminated the stage of the child athlete. The wind transformed small trees into shadowy spectators waving with applause. A worn basketball exposed its woven core was my trophy, marking another season of schoolless days and late bedtimes. When I was 10, I could have shot baskets all night. Occasionally, Dad would join my brother and me on the magical court. Following the cadence of his pounding palms against the orange orb, his announcer voice would begin. You know what's coming next. The disciplined person does what needs to be done when it needs to be done. Now, I could take a basketball and put it in a hoop. Then he would unleash a wild shot that hit high on the backboard and bounce into the grass. Comically shrugging his shoulders, my dad would continue with diminished enthusiasm. But I can't do it when it needs to be done. I laughed so hard I'd nearly pee. This was his monologue. This was your catchphrase.
Yeah.
Disciplined person.
The disciplined person is the person who can do what needs to be done when it needs to be done.
Yeah. Yeah. Were you going somewhere with that? Or
No, I just thought it was a fun phrase.
Talk about peeing. You made Autumn laugh. All right. In the spirit of humor,
Yes.
my mom can plug her ears. Your perineum is a sensitive patch of skin.
This is when we climbed.
Let me read. It'll come.
Mount. Oh, okay.
It'll get there.
Oh,
I won't read that
it
again.
was a
no.
very long climb.
Your perineum is a sensitive patch of skin between your genitals and anus. Some people believe the perineum is the chamber of light, the portal through which K energy enters your body. I believe mine was rubbed raw. Marathon runners smear Vaseline on their perineum and inner thighs to avoid chafing. It would be years before I learned of this practice. I'd been hiking for roughly 10 hours and had drunk an excessive amount of water. Before the day was out, my liquid consumption would exceed 300 ounces of water, enough to kill a small child. My excessive sweat combined with the irritation of 10,000 steps had created a rash. After my nap, each step brought with it a sharp chafing pain in my shorts. The more I walked, the more it hurt. We had a good 5 miles left. I was frightened. Dad was now hiking slower than his uphill pace on this gentle descending ground. It was a really big mountain. He was even hobbling back and forth, moving at about the speed of a toddler. His spectator injury was bothering him, and his legs were collapsing from strain. I wondered if his perineum was sore, but I didn't ask. It's not right for a son to ask about the status of his father's perineum. I'm glad you like that. I was nervous you might not. It's good. Okay, the last half. The last half mile walking on level ground was the most difficult hiking I've ever done. Upon reaching the makeshift road, I collapsed. Like a slow-motion knockout punch, my sweat scattered across the dusty earth. I was convinced my fancy shorts would wear a blood stain from my throbbing perineum. But I was too tired to look. Dad moaned dramatically in the distance. He was hurting. Ziggy, the great mountain dog, lay next to me, licking his bloody and cracked paws.
And then his brother, who climbed with us.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
He goes, when we got to this dirt road, I don't know how far we had yet to go, another couple miles or so.
Yeah.
Anyway, he went on ahead, got the truck or whatever, and came and got us.
Service road.
And we sat, do you remember this? We sat on this log.
Okay.
It isn't in the book, but we sat on this log, both just so tired, and I or you leaned back, and we fell over backwards.
That's right.
And we were so tired, we couldn't
move.
get up.
We
We
just
just
stayed
laid
there.
there until Joel came and got us.
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah, the mountain was called Mount Massive, and that's exactly
fitting
what it
name.
was. It was really massive.
Hey, you talked about it a little bit before, but maybe just, it's a question I had from this, but there's so many, I mean, one of the things I had so much fun with the book is that climbing mountains, there's all these metaphors and ideas that tie into life, too. Talk a little bit about your work as a writer or as a pastor, and how it relates to the trail and some of the pain and the exhaustion that we would experience. And falling over on the log and not getting up.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. If you want to write, you have to write in blood. There just is no other way. And I always tell people who are first learning, what you do is go down to Walmart. Is that the?
That's the store.
That's the store. I haven't been there, but no, I've been there. You go and you buy the largest bottle of glue you can find, and you go back to your desk, and you take that bottle of glue and pour it on your chair and sit on it. And that's the way you'll learn to write. This stuff about, inspiration, I mean, there's times, but you're going to slug it out, and you write in blood. And that's the only writing worth reading, Anyway, so, I mean, there are some of these things where Nathan was telling me of someone who dashed off a book in 3 weeks, but that's not a book. That's not a book.
You do it. It'll sell, though.
It'll sell,
It'll sell
but
big,
that's
guaranteed.
not a book. Okay, that's just a conversation put into print. And so you have to sweat over words. Words matter because they're the best carrier of ideas, and ideas rule the world. And so the choice of words matter. Mark Twain said that the difference between the right word and the almost right word is like the difference between lightning and a lightning bug. That's the difference. And so we learn to take great care and to love the words and to work. And until we've come as best we can, 64 rewrites. And then there comes a time when you let it go. You know that it's not perfect. I'm sorry, that's not going to happen. But you can get it as good as possible.